CATIA V5 Generative Sheet Metal Design, you can find the workbench over here under Mechanical Design. You can start that, you can define a new part. So this will be an session training regarding Generative Sheet Metal Design. Now, as you can see, for me, the toolbar looks like this. So I have the cutting and stamping position over here. I have the walls over here. If you want to start from, let's say, scratch, I highly recommend that you do a reset. If this is the first time you enter the workbench, you're going to see exactly how my UI will match yours. If I will go up to customize, afterwards I will go to toolbar, and with the standard selected, I will select restore position. So by default, if this is the first time you enter within this workbench, all the features will be docked on the right side. So that means that you should move those until you won't have any features over here. If you take a look closely near the mouse cursor, you're gonna see two arrows pointing downwards. That means that there are still some toolbars docked on the side of the screen. So regarding the resolution of your screen, I'm currently on a full HD screen. I'm also required to extract more of those until I will have access to all the features within this workbench. So we see the standard reference within CATIA, which I'm sure that you are familiar if you are watching a generative sheet metal design in CATIA. And now I have all the toolbars added. I will also reposition them and put them at the top so that they will be horizontal. So I highly recommend that you do this setup if you're just getting started. Also, a nice feature is to add the graphic properties over here. So you can right click anywhere on the ribbon where there's empty space, and you can enable graphic properties, and graphic properties will always be the first one on the left. Okay, now that we have the UI set up, let's get started with the part. I will go within the Y and Z plane and I will sketch a rectangle. So this will be the base wall. Let's see. For the horizontal axis, I will add 600 millimeters, and over here I will add 250. So this will be the initial sketch. If I will leave the sketch, I will see that all the features within Generative Sheet Metal Design, most of them are grayed out. And the reason for this is because we need to define these sheet metal parameters before we can start working within this module. So for the case study part, I will open this. We're going to see the parameters over here. So we have the thickness and also the default bend radius. If you just started this for the first time, the default in CATIA is a thickness of 2 millimeters, and you're going to have the default bend radius of 2. For this part, I want to add a thicker sheet metal, therefore I will go for 4 millimeters, and I will also change the default bend radius to 10. We also have other options over here, so we have the possibility to go for bend extremities, and over here we can specify what type of bend extremities we want to. So we have the first option, which is the default one, minimum with no relief. We're gonna see those will be the value. We can go for a square relief, and within CATIA we're gonna have a visual information regarding that. As we can see, we're gonna have the L1, L2, so these will be dimensions for the square relief. And we also have a round relief, which will be the same, but it will have a rounded part over there. We can go for linear, we can go for tangent, maximum, closed, and also flat joint. For this case study, I will go with minimum with no relief. And we also have the bend allowance. So you can change this if you want to, but by default the K factor will be 0.42. So these are the parameters that you can add over here. So I will just click OK. It's important to make this a little bit thicker, so 4 millimeters and 10 millimeters default radius. Now with it selected, we can define the first wall, which will be the feature over here at the top wall. You can also find all those over here at insert. As we can see, walls, rolled walls, bending, cutting, and stamping. We're also going to take a look at some stamp within this essential training. So select that wall. We're gonna see that by default the offset will be 0. We don't want to add an offset over here. The direction where we want the material to be added can be controlled also over here. As we can see, sketch at the middle point, sketch at extremities point. We're gonna go for the first one, and I want the arrow to point toward the user, so like this. We're gonna click OK, and we're gonna have that 4mm sheet metal. We can go and we can measure that. We're gonna see it will be 4mm. Now, working within sheet metal, we can make use of wall on edge. So this will be that feature, wall on edge. We can specify the edge where we want to add a new wall. As you can see, this will be that. The height for this will be 600. I will make this smaller, so something like 170. And now if you want to control the position of this wall on edge, we have the possibility to go within the extremities. We also have the clearance over here, but for this one I will go for no clearance between those. And if you want to control the dimensional length of this wall on edge, you will need to go within the extremities. And over here we're gonna have the left indicated over here within the viewport and the right. So we can specify an offset, for example from the right. If I only want to create a wall on edge on this side, I know that everything has a 600mm, so the full length. Therefore, if I want this to only have 200, I will go with a negative 400 on the right. And that means that I'm gonna have 200mm over here, and all the way over here there will be 600. I'm gonna click OK for this one, and I will create a new wall on edge for the other side. And as we can see, within the extremities, I'm gonna zero this. And now we need an offset from the left side, so you always need to calculate, let's say, the final size regarding the remaining material. So if I'm gonna add a left offset of 200mm, I'm gonna see that this will be overlapped over there. Therefore, I need to go with the minus in this case. As we can see, this will create a wall on edge, which will have a length of 200mm. Now we have that default bend radius of 10. Also, we can check those wall on edge, and we see that there's no clearance. We can add a clearance if you want to over here. But for this case study, I will leave it default with no clearance. Now, we see that the part is red since I tried to open and change that. Even though I didn't click OK, CATIA went within an update cycle, as we can see over here. Therefore, I can press over here update all, or Ctrl U is the hotkey. And we will gonna have that updated. Now, let's talk about stamping. So the stamps will be positioned over here, underneath cutting and stamping, and all the stamps will be positioned over here. So there are various types. We're gonna first create a louver. Now, for all of these stamps, we need to use some sketches to define the profile. Therefore, I will select this wall. So the interior side, I will define a new sketch. And over here, I will draw a rectangle. Let's also dimension the rectangle. Let's say 40 by 20. If you want to, we can also have this constrained. So all the way up to this side, I will constrain this to 30mm. And for the top, I will have this constrained again to 30mm. So this will be that profile for the louver, but it is highly recommended that we add a radius on the top to have that louver defined. Therefore, I will go over here to corner. I will do a rectangle selection to grab both vertices at the top. And now I can press tab. That will take me within sketch tools. I will type in 10, and we're gonna have those two added. Now if I'm going to leave that sketch, so it doesn't matter if you position it on this side or on the other side, we can swap the direction of the louver. So with the sketch selected, I will go to stamping and I will select louver. And we're going to have this louver definition parameter popping up. So over here we can specify the height of the louver. So in this case, maybe I want to extend this all the way up to 10. I can change angle 1 and angle 2, and you see over here a 2D profile of the louver. I will also generate this in order to see it. If I will try to press preview, we're going to see that we're going to have an update warning. Louver 1, the opening line must be specified. So the opening line will be the bottom section in this case, and now if I'm going to click on preview, we're going to see how that louver will look. So as we can see, we can change the height of the louver, so something like 30. This will be further extended outside. We can also change those angle values, so maybe 25 with 75. This is just an example, but you see how that shape will change. And over here we're gonna have that thick sidewall. We can also change the radius. I'm gonna make those highly larger, so something like 4. Now, as we can see, we don't have that arrow in order to indicate the direction of the louver, but if I will press OK, and if I will go back to the louver, afterwards we're gonna have that arrow popping up over here. So this is the direction. If I will position this inwards, now we're gonna have that stamping position like this inwards. So keep that in mind, that over there when you define that, you don't have the direction, but after the louver has been created, you have the possibility to do that. And what is most important is that you can also use fold and unfold in this case, but again the louver will not be folded and unfolded because this is a stamping. This will be added within a various, let's say, manufacturing operation. Now we have the possibility to multiply the components. We can also use mirror. If I would like this louver to be positioned over here, I will just need to define a middle plane. And I can do that easily over here from this plane. But let's take a look at how we can do a rectangular pattern. We see the pattern over here. So we have the possibility to do a rectangular pattern, a circular pattern, and also a user-defined pattern where we can specify a sketch, we can position some points, and then we can reuse that. You can find some of those. I made a video on my tips and tricks channel if you are interested in those patterns. Now, with the louver selected, I will go on rectangular pattern, and this will be similar to the part design rectangular pattern. As we can see, we have the reference for the first direction, which I will set this to be this direction. The second direction will be the vertical. And now I can add how many instances I want. So let's make these 3 instances by 4. And as you can see, they are all clumped up because we have the spacing set to a low value. Now we have 30 millimeters for the whole louver, therefore I will need to increase the spacing to something like even more. So in this case I will go with 60 since we have those large radius at the end. And we also have the vertical spacing, which I will increase this as well to 40. I can select reverse, but in this case I want for the first direction to be reversed, which will be this one, and we're gonna have those louvers position. If you want to, we can also adjust the number of those. And just like with other pattern, if for some reason you don't want a specific element to be added, you can click on that small dot and that will be removed. You can click OK and you can see how those louvers will be added. Now, if I'm gonna swap the direction of this one, since all of those are a linear pattern, they will be updated within the update cycle. Now, let's take a look at a different stamp. So for some stamp you will need close sketches like the louver, but for others like the bead you will only need a line. So I will create a line over here, And with that line selected, I will go over here and select the second one, which will be the bead. Again, we see a 2D sketch over here, so we see that sectioning where we can see all those values for the radius. And if you want to, we can increase those. You can hit preview, and we're gonna see that in this case, if you're gonna highly increase the height, so the height will also need to be made to be less than the end radius. So in this case, if I want the height of 8, so this bead should stick out a lot more from that 4mm thickness sheet metal. I will also need to increase the end radius. And the same principle applies with the direction. Again, if you're gonna go fold and fold, this will only be a 2D outline where that stamping will be added. If you wanna use some custom cutouts, so not stamps, in this case cutouts, we have the possibility to just draw those within a sketch. So for example, I will create over here a profile, something like this, make that, or I can use a hexagon, I can have this rotated. I will not constrain those because I just want to show you how you can do the cutouts, which will be this feature over here, cutout. And you don't have to specify the depth because the depth will be automatically identified from the metal parameters over here. And you can just click OK and you're gonna have that defined. Now, if I will create a new wall on edge over here, keep in mind that every time you create a new wall on edge, the extremities will have the previous selected values. So in this case, we see that it's highly offset at the bottom. So from the left, I will increase this by 100, but I will go with minus because I want to go over here at the top to create that small section. And if you want to use some predefined holes, you can do that over here within the hole section. You're going to select the area where you want to position your sketch. Afterwards, you have the possibility to change that type. So for example, maybe you want to have a countersunk hole over here. If you want to change the position, just like within hole definition in CATIA, you need to go over here for positioning sketch. And where you are going to position this point, you're going to have that wall, that hole defined. This is highly recommended to be added with constraints, both on that axis as well on the horizontal one, in order to have it properly aligned. So afterwards, we're going to see how that will be positioned over there. We can also use directly a circular cutout. So if you don't want to draw a circle and have that, you can use this function directly. So you're just going to specify the point, afterward the diameter, so 15, and you're going to have that directly created. So you no longer have to sketch a circle, position that. In order to control the exact location, you will have to enter within that sketch, and again, this will be controlled by a point. Now, we see that if I will fold and fold this, everything will follow along, but let's say that maybe I want to connect the two bottom wall on edges. So I have the possibility to define a new sketch over here, zoom in, and I will create a rectangle. For this rectangle, I will make it to be constrained. So over here, coincidence. I also want this to be all the way to this edge. And I will remove this auto added dimension because I want this to be coincident over there. And I want this to have a width of 100 millimeters. Now I have the possibility to create that wall. Keep in mind that it's important to align it properly. So that means that the wall should be positioned over there. And even though that is positioned over there, if I will go and create a fold and fold, maybe I want to do a 2D drawing for this, I'm going to see that it won't follow the rest of the shape. And that can be fixed by going within the wall, and we have over here tangent to option, and we can make this tangent to those two faces. And as soon as we have that tangency added, now we have the possibility to do that fold unfold. So for the essential training, I highly recommend that you start CATIA, you will start sketching various shapes, and you will try each feature. So we also have the possibility, if you already know part design, this will be very easy, since the functionality is the same for everything that involves chamfering, cornering, and so on. That shouldn't be any problem. The whole wizard is the same, just like within part design. The only difference is that over here you will always need to define some walls, and those, if you want to have the elements connected, you need to specify tangency between those, just like we did previously over here. Okay, so if you enjoy this kind of content, I highly recommend that you will check the playlist. It's entitled CATIA V5 Tips and Tricks, and I've sorted this list with the most popular videos. So this is how to reset CATIA to defaults, how you can create solid bodies from STLs, how you can import OBJ files, and there are a lot of videos over here. If you want to learn more about reusing patterns and how you can do that, also this video is highly detailed on that section. Okay, so if you enjoy this content, I will position a similar video over here to the left. I will also put the playlist within the video description and a subscribe button to the right. So thanks for watching.